question is, how much is your case worth? That's a very speculative type question that would be very difficult, if not impossible, to answer at the front end of a case. You know, there are some lawyers that would tell you that your case is worth nothing or zero until an insurance company or defendant offers you an amount of money, and then that could be the value of that case at that point in time. So when you look at trying to see how much your case is worth, generally you look at the strength of liability, the facts of liability that surround it, the extent of injury, the strength of causation between the failure or the breach of duty, whether it's in a personal injury matter involving a dangerous condition, or in an automobile collision where it's violating a duty in operating the vehicle, or whether it's in a medical malpractice. So you want to look at the strength of the association or the causal connection between the failure or the breach of the duty and the damage, and then of course the extent of your damages. The extent of your damages can greatly affect the value of a case, depending on whether you're dealing with a catastrophic injury or whether you're dealing with an injury that has resulted in a recovery within a short period of time. The question is there a typical success rate on premise liability cases? Premise liability cases, next to medical malpractice cases, are very difficult to succeed on. And the reason why is because the law requires you to prove that the premise owner knew or should have known of a dangerous condition, and that they failed to correct it or warn you of it to avoid the injury. And that's just difficult to prove. And so the success of those cases are going to be a lot less than when, say, you have an automobile accident where you've got liability that is not that disputed, and the issue is the extent of injury. So premise cases are very difficult, and in fact dependent on how you can prove what the premise owner knew or should have known regarding the dangerous condition that caused the injury. If a case is successful, what is the typical settlement range? And that's going to be fact dependent or case dependent on the damages of that case, as well as the facts that surround the breach in the standard of care or the duty owed, and the strength of the facts that connect the failure or the breach in the duty with the injury, the causal connection. All those elements and the strength and the facts surrounding those elements are going to affect the value of the case. When you talk about damages, you're going to want to look at how extensive are the damages. Do we have a catastrophic injury? Is there a life care plan needed to cover the expense of injuries for the rest of that person's life? Or was there a complete recovery? Is there a disability where the plaintiff or injured party can no longer work? And then what type of work was that person involved in? Were they an airline pilot, or were they a chef, or were they a teacher? It just depends on the vocation and the extent of their losses that would be proved up in court as to what the value of that potential settlement would be if there are agreements to try to reach a settlement.